as follows. We'll pick up from yesterday. I didn't know I would be saying the Shia today, but then Rabbi Geffen, it's hard to say no to Rabbi Geffen, so, he meets me downstairs yesterday after Mincha, and he says, okay, so you'll say the Shia tomorrow? And he didn't give me that much time the first year, So, but he's, Baruch Hashem, you're a wonderful group to learn Torah with. So that's really, I mean that sincerely. I really do. So, so let's get to it. So I feel, they're going to say, we had the Shurim on Parsha Shavua, or Sedra of the Shavua, and he didn't say too much about Vayechi, So I'll tell you, we started off with a few questions. Try to, the loose strands, try to, tie up a little bit. So, very famous that Vayechi, we started with an explanation. I explained to you that it says, Vayechi Yaakov Beretz Mitzrayim Shva'asrei Shana. He lived there 17 years. Yeah. So were they good years or bad years for Yaakov? So they were very, very good years. They were finally, he didn't have any tsaros, did not have any tragedy, didn't have any loved ones to contend with, Esav to contend with. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. But if that is the case, so there are three explanations which the Medrash gives why it's a Parsha Stuma. So we Parsha Stuma. So we explained what Parsha is. A Parsha is a paragraph. Parsha is a paragraph, but how is a paragraph determined? The psukim, the letters, words, and psukim, and then there's parshios, right? So what is a parsha? So we explained that parsha is a paragraph, and how do you delineate a paragraph? It's either psucha or stuma. Psucha, we explained, means that it starts on its own line, and there are always 9 spaces, 9 letters. Yud is the smallest letter, so it's 9 yuds. How you write a yud, so that you leave empty, and then you start on a new line. That's a psucha. It's open. It has its own line. It starts wherever it wants. It's open. And there's a Parsha Stuma. So what's a Parsha Stuma? What's a Parsha Stuma? A Parsha Stuma is that it doesn't start in its own line, right? So it says that this line, it says Lama Parsha Zu Stuma. Why is this Parsha Vayechi Stuma closed? It's not correct. The wording is not correct. I'm reading the right words, but it's not correct. That's what I wanted to tell you. That's it. You get to these things, and okay. Why is it not correct? Because if you look at the Sefer Torah, it's not a parsha. So what do you mean parsha zu stuma? It's not a parsha. What do we say parsha is? You define a parsha, halachically, is defined by a chapter. How do you delineate how do you see a chapter? So there's a separation, right? And a separation of 9 yuds, if they would be, if it's empty, but it means the space that it takes to write out 9 yuds, which is the smallest letter. And but it's not a parsha. That's the whole point. It's not. It's. Do I make myself clear? It itself is not a parsha. Okay, so I just wanted. This has the Parsha. Just 1 second. Let's just see. I wish I had the shul art scroll Hebrew only. That I don't know if you've seen it. Hebrew only. The shul parsha, for synagogue. It has the parshios, the real parshios, what we call parshios. If you want to know what the parshios are, so the Rambam has all the parshios in the Torah. In the Yad HaChazaka, in the Mishnah Torah, he lists all the parshios, and he tells you whether it's stuma or psucha stuma. Okay, but this is not a parsha. It's just a it's in middle. So the answer. So what does it mean? So here you have to go like this a little bit. When I was growing up, I mean that was an old Yiddish European thing. You could have used this hand to scratch your hair, but instead you go like this. So here, it doesn't mean a parsha here. It means the colloquial parsha, which is a sedra. Okay? So in other words, this, and the sedras were, as said by someone very well, Ezra, the Sofer, so he was the one who set up the sedros that we read each week. And so this Sedra Vayechi, which is not a Parsha, it's not a Parsha, this beginning. So it says, Lo Parsha Zustuma. Why is it closed? Means here it means the Sedra is not either it's neither a Parsha Psucha or Stuma, but the Rashi's bringing down the Chazal, they call it Parsha, so it means Sedra, that this reading, this week's reading is Stuma, means that there is no, there's no Parsha, whether it's Stuma or Psucha. Instead, what I'm telling you, don't think that I'm making this up, because the Achronim speak it out, but it's I wish that when I was younger I would have understood this, But you got it, right? So this is very, very good, and the Chazal give 3 reasons. Rashi quotes the reason because Lefishikevich Nifta Yaakov Avinu Nistamu Einayim Livin Shal Yisrael Mitzaras Hashibud. So the first thing that Rashi says is in the Medrash we have 3 reasons, but here he says he's going to give us 2 of them. So the first reason is that once Yaakov died, so the Nistamu Einayim V'Libim Shal Yisrael, it's a metaphorical expression that they felt like their eyes were covered with a veil or a black cloth, and they knew something bad was going to happen. And it says here, his chilu l'shabdam, they started to enslave them, which is absolutely not correct, because we have by tradition that until at least the Shvatim died, and it was all the brothers of Yosef. All the children of Yaakov died. There was no shibud. Okay, so that could have been 100 years, maybe a little less than 100 years, but that was a very long time, because Yaakov was only in Mitzrayim for 17 years. So the shibud, the enslavement, did not start for many decades. So the question is, didn't start for many decades. So how do you work this out? That when Yaakov died, the eyes and hearts of the Israelites were covered, were blacked out by the tzara, the suffering of the enslavement. It's not true. It's not true. So how do you understand this Rashi? So there's the macro and the micro. We're getting into the micro here, but if we're learning Rashi, you have to understand this answer why it's Parsha Stuma, it's closed. Why is it closed? Because they felt closed in. Because when Yaakov died, so this Shibud started, but the Shibud didn't start then. Okay, so we must say. So we're going to have to say. I mean, you had the question, right? Okay. So the answer is what I would say. And incidentally, by the way, the Medrash asks another question. I mean, the Mefarshim I brought along the Medrash Rabbah with the Mefarshim. So the Medrash Rabbah, the Mefarshim ask the commentators that, okay, he didn't die here. He died in the middle of the Sedra, right? He gave the brachas. He dealt with Yosef and Menashe and Ephraim, and then he gave all the Shvatim their brachas, which takes up half the Sedra, right? Half the portion of the week. So it should have been there. That's when it should be, when he died, right? So why is it over here? Why is it over here? Okay. So, that we can answer that he was very close to death because it says, Vayikruvu Yemei Yisrael Lamos. The end of his days were nearing, which means he knew it was his last little bit before he dies, so he called them. So that's not such a question. But still, the Shibud did not start then. The suffering did not start then. But it means to say there's an aura. I don't think that we're taking much license by saying this. There's an aura. The Shibud didn't start because that would be a flagrant contradiction to the other Chazal that says that it only started after all the Shvatim, all the tribes died. But what does it mean? It means that you see the handwriting on the wall, that things are coming to an end. The good times are coming to an end. I feel like I must say this. It's not, but I felt my wife and I made Aliyah 4 years ago. We saw the handwriting on the wall. America was the best Golus, better than Mitzrayim, the best Golus we ever had, Klal Yisrael. In all our years of Golus, all our years in the Diaspora, by far America was the best. But we felt that there was something coming around the bend, even before COVID, the whole sickness of woke, etc., etc. America was a religious country. It was a religious country. Certainly when the founding fathers were, fighting the Revolutionary War and writing the Declaration of Independence and then the Constitution. So they were very, very from Goyim. America is not nearly, that's an understatement. as religious as it was. I had a Rebbe who was a very, very big Jew. One of my Rabbeim, Rav Simcha Wasserman, you may have heard of him. His father was Rav Chanan Wasserman, who died in the Holocaust, and he had the Yeshiva Baranovich. He was very, very close with the Rabbi Chaim. So Rav Simcha was his eldest son. He was a giant in Musar, and he was a big Talmid Chacham. So he once said, what is better if you're living amongst Gentiles that don't believe in anything, or Gentiles that believe in God, but they believe in the wrong God, or the Avodah Zarah? It's a question. So he said, definitely, it's much better if they believe in Avodah Zarah than if they believe in nothing. And that we are living through right now. In other words, when America was religious, they were, most of America, it was taken for granted that America was much, much more, religiously oriented than Europe. So that was very, very good. It was good for the Jews, but even though there was anti-Semitism, we killed their God and this and that, but it's small potatoes compared to what the situation is now. But if you don't believe in anything, then you're not a person. You have no understanding. You're not. There's nothing there, so you can do everything. So this is what I really felt. This is the Pasha Pshat. How can they say that once Yaakov died, so the Shibud started, the enslavement started? It didn't start then. Definitely didn't start then. So what does it mean? So the answer is that they felt it was coming. There was an aura. That's what I would say. That's what speaks to me. That's what speaks to me. Otherwise, it makes no sense. But you feel it. You feel it. The Jews did not know in Europe when Hitler came to power, or even before Hitler came to power, they didn't know that things were bad. There was a very big Jew. He's not religious. I mean, he grew up secular. He grew up nothing. So, Zev Jabotinsky. Jabotinsky ever heard of? Okay. So, Jabotinsky was standing in the late 1920s in the streets of Varsha, and he said in Yiddish, he was yelling out, Jews, Jews, you have to leave Europe, because the Goyim are going to kill us all. It was, if anyone else in the administration would hear me say this, but it was almost prophetic. It wasn't almost, it was prophetic, but of course he wasn't a Navi, you understand? But he had a very big inclination toward Musar, etc., etc. He just wasn't brought up Jewish, So I mean, religious. He didn't have any Torah, but he was a very big person. He was yelling this out. So we should all know this. It's not so far. Regrettably for Jews, it hasn't been far for the last 2,000 years, and before then, because that's how I'm trying to explain this Rashi. The Shibud started. It didn't start. The enslavement didn't start. But it means to say they knew Yaakov was a protection. Just like when he came down to Mitzrayim, what happened? There was no more famine. The famine stopped. So too, they knew as long as he was living, then there's not the bris bein habsarim, the covenant between the half that says that we're going to be enslaved, etc., is not going to happen. The patriarch is still here. But once he died, they knew it was only a matter of time. This is what I'm saying. In truth, it didn't start until his children all died out. But there was a heaviness of heart. They knew it was coming. That was that's what I want to say. This is the question is very obvious. No one can. We have a Masorah, we have a tradition, oral tradition, that the Shibud didn't start until all the brothers died out. So what is Rashi? What is this? What is this opinion in the Medrash that once Yaakov died, so no. No, I thought I had it because the wording. Look at what Rashi says. I'll just say the Rashi. I mean, you don't have the English in the Rashi, either do I. But let's read the Rashi together. It's a few words. Lefi shekevan shenifta Yaakov Avinu. When the reason why this Parsha is not in a regular, this Sedra, this reading of the week, is not in a regular paragraph, doesn't start as a paragraph, which is exceptionally unusual. The reason for that is, Lefi shekevan shenifta Yaakov, because once Yaakov died, nistemu, so it was closed, the eyes and hearts of Israel were closed from tzaras hashibud, from the sorrow or the pain of the shibud. So it doesn't mean that I wanted to say that it doesn't mean. I mean, I'm saying that. That's what it means, because it's that it wasn't that they actually were enslaved, but it means that they understood that it was coming. How did they understand? Because they knew at that point that they knew of the prophecy to Abraham of bris bein habsarim and the covenant between the halves, which is in Lech Lecha, Parshas Lech Lecha. So they knew that, and the covenant between the halves states clearly that they will be enslaved. So they were waiting for that. When is that time going to come? But they knew that Yaakov was still living. There's not going to be. We don't have to worry about it. Yaakov died. Now we have it on our. So that means that mitzaras hashibud, the tzara, but the tzara, the pain, the sorrow of the shibud. It doesn't mean they were actually enslaved. But then the next words in Rashi, shehischilu l'shabdam, because they started to enslave them. So that's against what I'm saying. But I still held what I'm saying is the only way. Maybe they did other things that were showed that it wasn't all peaches and cream going to be. In other words, the anti-Semitic, they felt already that it was something was different, right? Okay, because Dova Acher. So Rashi brings a second pshat. The Medrash, I said, brings a third pshat. But Dova Acher shebikesh legalos es haketz. Yaakov knew by Ruach HaKodesh, or by prophecy, when they would get out of Mitzrayim, when this sorrow would all be over. And he wanted to tell that to his children. That's why he called all his children together eventually. But v'nista mimenu, but it didn't work out because God took away that knowledge from him that he shouldn't be able to tell. It was closed, the ability to tell the children, or that he didn't remember it. God took away that knowledge from him. Okay, So that's that is. That's what I want to say. And I have. You should know like this. Whenever Rashi says davar acher, it says another explanation. So it usually, I mean, I've always been able to, see this through. It usually means that they're complements of each other. It's not two things; it's complements of each other. So here we can work it very well. Dova acher, shebikesh l'galos esaketz. He wished to reveal the end of the Egyptian diaspora, and to his children, when it would all be over, when they would get out, when they would be redeemed from Egypt, v'nista mimenu, and it was taken from him. So it means to say that if you know when it's going to end, so it makes it more bearable. You know that sorrow is not as great. But if you don't know, then it's overwhelming. So this is what Rashi is saying, that he wanted at least mitigate the sorrow of the enslavement that was going to be by telling him the end, and it was not to be. God took away that power from him, that knowledge from him, and that's why they mitzaras hashibud, the sorrow of the first explanation, the sorrow of the enslavement was all the more that they felt that they were going to be enslaved, and we don't know the end. Okay, that's it. I definitely spoke about the first pasuk. I'm the big bucks that paying me, so they I tell you the truth. Of course, he knows that of course I'm doing this because you guys are lovable. I mean, just you are. It's just it's a big zchus to be able to share Torah with you. So that's why I'm here. So and I hope you're learning something. So this is but this is a big lesson also, that when it says davar acher, another explanation, it usually is a corollary. I've always been able to put them together, just like here, So okay, so this is it. Now the brachas, the blessings that he gives to all the tribes, right? So really, it's not blessings. It's not blessings. So if you look in the Rashi on all the, it's saying either what they were or what they will be. But it doesn't, the blessing that Isaac gave to Jacob, right? That was a blessing. God should give you from mitala shamayim, the dew of the heaven, and mishmani aretz, and the fat of the land. That's a blessing, right? But if someone says, when you come to them, say, you have 100 sheep. You have 1,000 sheep. You have 1,000 sheep. Is that a blessing? It's just telling you what is. So all the blessings were nevuos. He knew what would happen in the future, and he was telling them what would happen in the future. Like Shimshon, he says, you should know. There's going to be a Shimshon, and he's going to be a strong guy, and he's going to save Israel for a certain while. He's going to be one of the judges, and he's going to save Shimshon. If you look, you'll see. I mean, it doesn't mention Shimshon, of course, but Rashi explains that that's what it's referring to. So, but if you look through it, that's you're going to see that throughout, that it's not blessings. So, what is it? What is it? So so really, this understanding answers another pasuk at the end of the blessings, and let's just get there. Let's see. Okay. It says as follows. Okay, yeah. If you, I don't know how many of you have Chumashim, but if you would please go to Shishi, and which is Perek 49, which is of course, Perek 49, Memtes, and Pasuk
282, page 282.
282 is correct. Okay, I could have just said that. Okay. After Binyamin, who was the last to be blessed, he was the youngest, so that starts Shishi. Now the Chof Ches, 28, the verse. Kol Eila Shifte Yisrael, Shnei Mosar. All these are the 12 tribes of Israel. V'zos asher diber lohem avim, and this is what their father talked to them. Vayivorech osam, and bless them. Ish asher kibirchoso beirach osam. Ish asher kibirchoso beirach osam. There's something wrong with the grammar here, because if you look, does the English have it correctly? No. It's because they do it. You should understand it. It's not completely literal. So the verse says there were 12 tribes, and this is what their father spoke to them. And it's interesting. This is what he spoke to them. It doesn't say V'zos Hashem beirach osam, and this is what he blessed them. Beirach is blessed them. It says he spoke, diber. Then after that it says vayivorech osam, and he blessed them. So what's the diber lohem, and what's vayivorech osam? Okay, so you could have said no, because some of them, like Ruvain and Shimon and Levi, it wasn't a real blessing, because he was a little upset with them, right? So what is so that's what Diber is, and then Vayivorech Osam, but then we have to know Vayivorech Osam, and he blessed them, each one, Asher Kibirchaso, according to his blessing, Beirach, he blessed, it should say him, in the singular. Each, according to his blessing, he blessed him, right? But it says osam, them. So the common understanding in this is that each of them, whatever the points of greatness were in each of them, he said he pointed out, to answer what we said before, he pointed out the facts of who their talents, their God-given strengths, and then he said, all of you should enjoy all of these talents. Every one of you should have it. Could be Yehuda, he'll be Melech. He has strength, tremendous strength of character, and also physical strength. So that's his main thing. But all of you should be blessed with that, right? Yisachar, he can sit and learn with tremendous hasmada. He has that power. Zvulun, l'chof yamim, He's a master of trade. He's a tremendous businessman, He'll do very well. So all of you should have all those talents and blessings. That's their innate talent that was described and when he was talking, both as it was then and also how it'll be in the future, pointing out their talent, that it's going to be in the Shevet. But all of you, all the Shvatim, should be blessed with all these talents. You have it? And that's why now this now makes sense. First of all, Asher Diber Lohem. So it says Diber, so you have to explain. You have to say he spoke to them. What do you mean? And then the next words is Vayivarech Osam. So what do you mean he Diber? What's the Diber? And blessing? What's the talk and what's the blessing? It was a blessing. So the answer is no. It was he pointed out. Diber is he pointed out to them their greatness and the greatness of their Shevet, which will be exhibited in the future. And Vayivarech Osam, and all of them he blessed equally. Ish asher kibirchaso beirach Osam. Each one of them should have all the blessings that everyone has naturally. 1, 2, 5, 10 talents, blessings. They all, by God, they should all have. All of them should share in all these blessings. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's not that if you're not from Zvulun, you'll never be a good businessman. No, the bracha was that there is a Zvulun, and that Yaakov blessed them. They should all share in each other's blessings. Okay, that's and then it's very the pasuk works very well. In Osam, the last word in the pasuk is Osam. Them, it shouldn't be they. It should be Oso. His blessing, Ish Asher Kibirchaso, as was his blessing. Beirach Oso, he blessed him. No, it means he blessed. Of course, he blessed him for that also. But he blessed all of them. They should all have all of each other's blessings. Okay. So that's now. I want to just point out one thing. One thing at the end of the Sedra, and then I'm going to go back because I want to point that we started yesterday, Shmos already, and the whole enslavement and why was there enslavement? What was it to do? Was God punishing the Jews, or why? Why would He punish the Jews? No. So the answer is because it wasn't a punishment. It was a. Do you know that the Torah never says why the Jews were enslaved in Egypt? It just says, they will be enslaved in Egypt. It never says why. So we're going to tell you, and we started yesterday, but I'm going to tell you. But before that, I just want to say, Yaakov is buried where? He's buried in Eretz Yisrael, right? So he makes Yosef swear that he will bury him in Eretz Yisrael, right? Now this is pretty incredible. That can you imagine that? Let's say the vice president should not be able to leave the country. He has to figure out, how am I going to be able to leave the country? And not only that, but he never. Yes.
So when he said that, he made him swear, but he said to carry his body back from Canaan to
from Egypt to.
Yeah. So when he says that, it doesn't mean that let him die there. It's just if he dies, taken no matter what back to the land of Israel. No.
No. It means that the.
Is he physically going to die there?
Yeah, no, he's definitely going to die. Well, you're referring to what we started with yesterday, that Yaakov Avinu lo meis. Yaakov Avinu did not die.
Yeah, but it was more of like a promise that he made. Like the writing was something like where he has to carry his body back to the land of...
No, he definitely died. The Gemara itself asks, what do you mean to say that he didn't die? It says that they buried him. So what do you mean? They also, they embalmed him, and then they mourned him for a long time, and then they physically buried him. So of course he died. So what does the Medrash say that he didn't die? So we're going to.
which one got buried and came on my father?
Mars HaMechbela, so was Yaakov, and he was and with Leah, he was buried.
Okay.
So Yaakov definitely died. So we're going to explain that also. That's one other thread that I want to finish off. But it says that it was very difficult to get out of Mitzrayim. Why was it so difficult? The vice president wants to leave the country. He says, "Listen, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to come back in in 2 weeks, and I'm taking time off. He had never left in all the years that he was there in Egypt. He never left. So what was it? Not only that, he didn't ask Paro. What do the verses say? Yosef didn't ask Paro, I want to go up to Israel to bury my father. He didn't ask him. What does it say? Let's just see here. It says, here a very strange verse. The page 284 and verse 4. 284 verse 4. Vaidaber Yosef. It said, let's start from the beginning verse. Vayavru yemei b'chiyaso. The days of crying for Yaakov passed. In other words, they were mourning him, and he was still in Egypt. Vaidaber Yosef el beis Paro. Yosef didn't directly go to Paro. He spoke to the house of Paro. Lamar saying, if I find favor in your eyes, your eyes, Dabru no ba'oznei Paro, speak to Paro, saying. He can't even speak to Paro? This is the Sheni Lamelech, the second to the king. What's coming off here? What does this mean? So the answer is, I said, it's not. It's more brisk than. I don't know how familiar you are with even that phrase. Brisk has a certain style. It's more halachic. I didn't hear it. It's not. It's because my main learning was in Brisk. So this is that style that I'm about to tell you. But I'm definitely more open to different styles, as you can tell. But in Brisk, one would say. I didn't hear it from there. I'm just saying this is the style. That were they allowed to leave Mitzrayim?
On their own accord, no.
Why not?
Because Hashem didn't want them to.
Very good. Because once they came down, that's when they were locked in. That is what it means. When you say that was part of the Bris Bein Habesarim, that's how they understood it. That you're going to be in a land that's not yours, and you're going to be enslaved. So that could also be, by the way, that could also be an understanding of what we spent a lot of time in the beginning of this class, was the tsaras hashibud means that they can't, they're tied. They're not physically tied. They could try to leave, but that would be against the nevuah. They knew that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, once they went down, that's where they were supposed to be until HaKadosh Baruch Hu would take them out. So they couldn't leave. So how are they going to bury Yaakov? This didn't apply to Yaakov, by the way. Obviously, that I don't want to go into, but it didn't apply to Yaakov. He could leave. Someone has to get him to the Maris HaMachbela, you know. So how's he going to get this? He tells Yosef, "You got to take me." So Yosef has to figure out how he's going to get Yaakov to go and not leave Egypt of his own accord. You understand? So it says. What is the next verse? My father. This is what he talked to base Paro. He talked to the people in the house of Paro, not the Paro himself. Avi hishbiani. My father made me swear, saying, "I'm going to die, and I want to be buried in the plot that I bought in Eretz Canaan. Bury me there. And now I'd like to go up and bury my father there and come back." That's what the pasuk says. Okay. So they spoke to Paro, obviously, because the next verse it says that Paro said, "Ale, go up and bury your father as you swore to him." So Yosef went up to bury his father. Whoa, let's see the next part of the verse. And with him, with Yosef, went all of the servants of Paro, who were Ziknei Beso, the elders of his house, and all the elders of Egypt. They all went up. Okay? Then, only then, does it say that Kol Beis Yosef, the house of Yosef, and his brothers, and the people of his father's household, also left. They also went up Vayalimo with the servants of Paro, the main ministers, etc. of Paro. That's not what it should say. It should say, Paro says, "Go, and I'm also sending ministers." Right? No, it says it doesn't say that. It says no. But more than that, it says they were second string. Yeah. Yosef and his brothers were second string. Who were the main people going? That's what it says. Vayomer Paro. Paro said, "Go up and bury your father." And Yosef went up. Vayalo ito, and with him went Kol Avdei Paro v'Ziknei Beso v'Chol Ziknei Eretz Mitzrayim. It was the entourage. They were second string, the brothers. It was all of Mitzrayim. The hierarchy went. Okay, so much so that if you look. If you look at on page 286, verse 11, it says, "Vayar Yosef ha'oretz haknani the inhabitants of Canaan. The inhabitants of Canaan, when this entourage was coming up, as Avel begorinotod, they saw the great Avel mourning, that the entourage of mourning that came up. Vayomru, they said, Ovel koved zel Mitzrayim. This is a great, and a great koved means heavy. It was a very, very imposing mourning for the that the Egyptians have. That the Egyptians have. It should have been that the Yaakov's family has, and the Egyptians follow along.
Was it hard for the Egyptians to see him having like that freedom to take his father up with the brothers and?
No, so one second. Let me just point out, they weren't allowed to go, but and also what is it? What do we care? This is like a journalism report. This is that there was a big funeral, and there were many thousands of people, and the indigenous population of Canaan even said how great and heavy was this mourning entourage that the Egyptians had. The answer is, so this is what I'm going to say. What Yosef worked out that he didn't speak to Paro directly. I want to go. He said he spoke to Paro's household. He says, listen, my father told her that, he made me swear I have to do this. So Paro, you can see Trump doing this in a second, says, whoa, this is a chance for, to be in the news. You're not going to do it. We're doing it. It's a big thing. We're going to show off all our ministers, etc. So Mitzrayim went up to bury. And I want to just tell you one thing, that, when you have the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem, legally, I'm not talking about halachically, but legally speaking, which country are you in when you're in the embassy? USA. That's a standard.
That's why I went to China in Tel Aviv. I went to the Chinese embassy with my friend.
Yeah.
You had to get a visa, so I was in China for a little.
Oh, you were in China. No, so here, Paro was sending a delegation. It was like an embassy mission for Mitzrayim to go up. That's what he was thinking, to avoid this thing that they can't leave Mitzrayim, but they're not leaving Mitzrayim because they're going with Egypt up to bury Yaakov. And that's why it's in the Torah tells us that the Knaanim said, Ovel Godol leMitzrayim. What's the exact words? Avel Vayomru, the Knaanim said, Avel Koved Zeh leMitzrayim. This is a great mourning funeral that Mitzrayim is doing. So therefore, that's why they weren't leaving Mitzrayim. That was concocted this by Yosef. That's why he didn't speak to Paro directly. He wanted the house meaning that everyone was talking. Okay, we'll make this a big scene for Mitzrayim. This is a way to show Egyptian might and etc. So this was then permitted. That's just a brisker approach to this. Okay, so now of course we're late. You have another 2 minutes. Okay, so let me just tell you what I told you yesterday, and then many proofs. But I'm going to give you something. which I said about Dosim Vaviron, that they spend so much time on them in Shmos, the next Parsha, to show that there was a metamorphosis. That first they were like capos. They were telling on Jews to the Mitzrim who were enslaving the Jews, and then they left that occupation of being a capo, and they, on the contrary, they were helping their brethren. So that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to. They are like the barometer of what was happening. So what was happening? What HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to see is that all Jews could live together in harmony and peace and harmony. And so, as long as you had people like Dosim Aviran, who were the Rishoyim, and they were reporting on other Jews to get them in trouble, obviously there wasn't great peace and harmony. But then HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that Moshe, according to Chazal, mentioned to God in the 7 days of arguing with God whether he should go to be the leader of the Jews to take them out of Mitzrayim. And Moshe didn't want to. Because one of the arguments was, well, they can't get along, and obviously that's what's necessary. So why should it's not correct. They should be leaving now. So God says, no, it's enough. You'll find out. So Moses is told that they're like dead because they gave up. They don't have parnasa, so they're like dead. So don't worry about them. What does that mean? So he explained that it means that they gave up their job, which was to tattle on Jews. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu was telling Moshe, you see, this is what I wanted to accomplish. The only place in the Torah it says what describes the servitude in Egypt, what Egypt did, was a pasuk that says, calls Egypt, the Egyptian experience, Kur HaBarzel. I don't know if you ever, crucible, calls it a crucible. You know what a crucible is? So a crucible is a pot that you heat up metal to a temperature that the dross, like silver, could have other things in it. So to get it pure silver, you would heat it up to such a point that the metals separate. Once the metals separate, so you have pure silver. Same thing with gold. They do the same thing with gold. So it calls it Kura Barzel. So here, what does it mean? It means that what God wanted was to perfect the Jew, to create the Jew that could accept the Torah. That's what he wanted. So how did that occur? That occurred because they were enslaved. And I don't know exactly, I say, how is it good? As if I'm giving you an answer. Exactly. I don't know, but God knew that this experience that they were all suffering together would bring them very close. And they would love each other and do for each other. Okay. So, and you see that even Dasan Aviram, they stopped being capos and turn just the opposite, that they were willing to take the hit for their group of Jewish workers who didn't produce the quota, so they were beaten, not the Jewish workers. Okay, so I want to give you another, just that you shouldn't think that Avram Kahn is telling you this Baba Maisa and what do I have to accept? This so after I said this in Lakewood once, this whole thesis, someone came over, a young Avrech, and he told me that what you said, it seems that the Vilna Gaon says exactly what you said. So I said, well, listen, Vilna Gaon, I'd like to hear. I didn't know this Vilna Gaon. So the Vilna Gaon says as follows. Moshe was told twice, by the way. Moshe was told twice. When you leave Egypt, you have to tell the Jews that they have to go to the Egyptians and ask for klei chesed, klei zov. They ask for silver dishes and gold dishes, etc. So, what is that all about? I mean, it's psukim in the Torah. That's right before they left. I mean, I've been enslaved for heavy slavery for 86 years, real slavery. My kids were Khalil. The children were thrown in sometimes with the mortar into the buildings. So you're telling me that I have to go and ask for silver and gold? And who says they're going to give it? And what's the whole point? God can provide the silver and gold. So it's a question. Would you say it's a question? I mean, it's a pella. So the Vilna Gaon points out that one of the two times. So one time it says that Ish me'es re'ehu. Re'ehu means either friend or fellow citizen. So the Vilna Gaon says it's obviously they weren't asking the Egyptians. The Egyptians can't be called their friends or their fellow citizens. I mean, it's a famous Gemara in Baba Kama that ki yigach shor ish shoreyehu, when the animal of one person will gore the animal of his fellow citizen, his friend. So the Gemara says, reyehu means another Jew, not a guy. You're not liable from the Torah. You're not allowed to steal from a guy. You're not allowed to damage a guy's stuff. But if your property, in other words, your animal, damages a guy's stuff, you're not liable by din Torah. Okay, so here the re'ehu referring to that you should go and ask. Re'ehu can't be referring to the goyim. So the answer is referring to the Jews. Yeah.
What if it's the law of the land?
No, of course, we follow law that's Dina de Malchusa. The law of the land you have to follow. As long as it's not against Torah. If they're just telling you have to pay more, so it's like a tax. So of course you're going to pay it. Yeah, that's of course. I'm just pointing out that Re'ehu cannot be talking about a mitzvah. It has to be talking about a Jew, because that's the Gemara in Baba Kama that learns out from Re'ehu. It means another Jew. So, and not a guy. So the Vilna Gaon says there were two tzivuyim. There were two commands. HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Moshe, go down, go tell the Jews right before they left. Go tell the Jews they should borrow from each other kalim. Not gold and silver, but kalim. Kalim means dishes, wares, whatever, kalim, utensils that they had. And then they all gave to each other. And then he says, now go ask the Goyim. You have achieved what I wanted you to achieve in Egypt. The Gaon doesn't say this last point, but this is what he said. Obviously, that's what the Gaon meant. this idea that I'm saying, that if each Jew felt a tremendous friendship and brotherhood with each other Jew, of course they would give them. So that happened. They gave them. They said, then the second time, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, now go take from the Goyim, and you'll see that they'll shower you with their gold and silver, which they did. So he said that was a bracha that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave. This last thing before they left, what they did was HaKadosh Baruch Hu, this was the final proof that they had achieved what the slavery in Egypt was supposed to achieve for the Jew, to create the DNA of Rachmonim, Baishonim, Gomi Chasodim, compassionate and modest, and also Gomi Chasodim, doing good things for each other. And that was achieved. That's what this whole story is, because otherwise we don't understand what the whole story is. But that was the whole purpose of the Egyptian experience, was to create the Jew that has this DNA of compassion to his fellow citizen. Incidentally, this is without doubt unique. We're unique with all, from all the nations of the world. You come into, if I would meet you in Hong Kong, and I find out you're Jewish, and you would see I'm Jewish, right away there would be an affinity. There's no such thing. One Chinese person sees another Chinese person, 1 in 1.5 billion, what do I have to do with you? But a Jew, you see another Jew, there's an instant feeling of brotherhood. We're the only ones that have that. We're the only ones that have that in the world. That is a special bracha. That is what is such a people I can give the Torah to. And that was the Egyptian experience that we're going to learn. And that was the nation that was supposed to be created. So, and it was created in Mitzrayim. Okay, very good. And it's really late, and I hope that Rabbi Geffen is correct that the mincha is 1:30 today. Okay, very good.